Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to sequencing special effects props with Kyle Bostick. And we are just about ready to go here. Don't forget to check out the vendors discount list when you get a chance, and I'll post a link in the chat here soon. And with that, Kyle, it's all you. You ready to go?
Hi, everyone. I am Kyle Bostick. I run and operate BF Light shows and RGB sequences, and I'm going to do a class on programming special effects. So the programming devices I'm going to go over today are fog machines, fobbles, cold spark, fire machines, wireless bracelets, and moving heads. I'm going to do a live demo for all of these. A little bit about me. I am outside of Metro Detroit, Michigan, and this is my 4th year doing a show. It started off as a hobby. I probably became a little more obsessed than I'd like to admit and ended up turning this into a full-time job. So I do this full-time now. And like I just mentioned, I run BF Light shows and RGB sequences. As Shane mentioned, both of those stores are offering discount codes, so you can get 30% off of all the sequences. And an overview of this class is I'm going to show how to create the models in Xlights, how to connect to a controller. We do sell the cables that you would need to connect a DMX machine to a controller at bflightshows.com. I'm going to show you a little bit about how we approach sequencing these types of things, and then we'll go over a demo. We are going to break this into kind of a 2-part class because there is a break scheduled for the middle. So the first class is going to be mostly focused on the special effects stuff without moving heads. And then the next one, I will do a deeper dive into moving heads. So I have a couple of pictures here on where you would connect DMX to a Falcon or Experience Lights controller. I have the full screen slides set up, so I can't see any questions in chat. So if you have a question, post in chat, and hopefully one of the co-hosts can grab it, or raise your hand and come on mic. That's fine. So on the left here, we have a Falcon F16 V3, and I'm sorry, F16 V4, and the bottom port over here with the red arrow is the DMX port. And then on the right, we have the Experience Lights Genius controllers, and they have 2 DMX ports. And then I have a picture of the cable that we carry that is DMX to RJ45. So it will just plug right in. You don't have to buy any adapters on Amazon. I've had a lot of issues with those in the past that they're not wired for what we're trying to do, so they didn't work. So I started making these cables. After getting quite a few orders, it was hard to keep up with them. So we ended up having them manufactured. So now I don't have to make them, but they're just produced and made sure they work for our application. The Culp and Wally's Lights controllers work a little bit differently. They have a 3-pin connector on them that you have to manually screw in. So we carry those cables as well. They're just pre-stripped and tinned. And on the Wally's Lights controller, you can see there's a ground, a DMX negative, DMX positive for DMX port 1 and DMX port 2. And then you would just connect your DMX props to that. The DMX models I'm going to go over are going to include the fire machine. The common one is Spray the Fire. That one uses 2 channels. A cold spark machine that I have from Global Special Effects. It uses 1 channel. Global Special Effects Upshot Fog, or the vertical fog machines. That one uses 8 channels. Then I'm going to show the Fobbles F3 from Froggy's Fog. That uses 3 channels. The Froggy's Fog F4 Fobble machine that uses 15 channels. And if you missed our vendor town hall just a little bit ago, we are now carrying the Froggy's Fog machines. So you can get those machines from us, and the programming for them for all of our sequences is now available as well. So we are now offering the machines as well as the special effects programming for our sequences. And then the last one I'm going to go over is the wireless bracelets. A lot of people have been getting these little wireless bracelets to give out or sell at their shows to their guests. And they basically just sync up. They have about 1,000-foot range or so. And you can make these match the color of your show. Lots of people were posting pictures of the bracelets that Taylor Swift was using. These are similar to that. Taylor Swift's are obviously a little better. They have like projection mapping to target specific areas and make those bracelets change colors. These aren't quite that good, but you can still get them to match your house and your guests will still really enjoy that. I grabbed a couple of screenshots of manuals so you know what you would look for when you go to set up a DMX prop. So on the left here, we have a Froggy's Fog Fobble F3, and it has channel 1, 2, and 3, and there isn't anything below that. So that'll tell you it's a 3-channel machine. And then in the description or the function over here, it tells you what each channel does. A little bit later, I will show you how to add strand names, and that will let you put in Xlights what each channel for your DMX machine does. That'll help you when you need to sequence it or make adjustments and things like that. You won't have to keep referencing the manual. So over here, it gives you a little bit more information. So channel 1, it controls the fog, but over here, you have values 0 to 9. It doesn't do anything. 10 to 25 will control how much fog is being outputted. Channel 2, you have bubble wand speed. That is the little bubble mower. And 0 to 9 doesn't do anything. 0 to 100 is 10 to 255. And then it says it's not available in fog or haze mode. And then you come down a little bit lower and you have a machine function that has a fog, haze, bubble, and fobble mode. And depending on what value you set, will control what the machine's doing. Over here is for the upshot fog. You have different colors, so you can set the LEDs on the fog machine. And then you have a master switch. A lot of the DMX fog machines have this master switch or machine function, whatever they want to call it. It's all basically the same thing. But that'll control the mode that the machine is in. And that almost always has to be set in order to use the machine. So if I want smoke, I would have to set channel 1 and channel 8 at the same time. If I just did 1 or just did 8, the machine would not light up. The Fobble F4 is probably the most advanced one on this list. It has lots of different options. I know someone else did a class on fog machines and special effects earlier today. I'm going to go over a slightly different approach on how to set up all of these models. When you set up the models, if you set them up as a 15-channel model, then when you try to program the colors for them, you have to set DMX effects, and that can be real tedious to try to match colors. So say your house is using a shader and it's some, random shade of purple or orange or green, and it's not just a normal green. You would have to try to figure out exactly how much red, how much green to add to mix to get that shade that you're looking for. I'm going to show you a trick on how to eliminate all that guesswork and just make it match perfectly. So to do that, what you would do is break up your machine into a few different models. So the first model, I'm going to go over this Amazon Fobble machine. It is a 9-channel machine. The website and description on Amazon says it's 8-channel, but I verified through testing that it is in fact 9. So 1 through 4, those control the fog, the dimmer, the bubble machine, and the machine function. And then 5 through 7 are the lights, red, green, and blue. And then 8 and 9 are the machine functions. The Froggy's Fobble F3 only uses 3 channels, so 1 through 3. The Fobble F4 is that 15-channel, and it has channels 1 through 4. 5 through 7 are the lights, and then 8 through 15 are, again, machine function. And then Upshot Fog, same thing. The light channels are 2 through 4 in this one. So I pull out the light channels, and they are just a string. So it looks like a normal pixel. And what you can do with that normal pixel is you can add that to your all groups, your all yard, tombstones, whatever type of group you want it to be part of. So that way, when your house is doing a pinwheel, wherever you set your fog machine in Xlights, you basically just set the little dot for your pixel. I set mine on a sidewalk. So I have my layout set up. It's basically centered in the layout. And as it's doing the pinwheel, it knows that the fog machine is on the sidewalk, kind of in the middle. So as it's doing that pinwheel, it will light up appropriately. It would be almost impossible to time that if you're using the DMX model itself and trying to set those values. So one other tip I would recommend doing is going into the model and setting the strand names. That will allow you to easily control them and remember what each one does without having to go back to the manual over and over. To get to that, load your layout, click on your model, and then scroll down and you'll have an option that says strand name. Come over to the right side, click the 3 dots, and it will give you this little pop-up. And then you can just refer back to your manual to figure out what the different channels do. Your node names are basically your channels. So channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, channel 4. And then once you pull up the sequence, which I'll show you in a few minutes, you'll see smoke is channel 1, fan is 2, wand is 3, dimmer is 4. So when you're trying to program it, you're not guessing what's doing what and all that type of stuff. All right, so I'm going to close the PowerPoint for just a minute and we'll go over to a quick demo in Xlights, and then I will go outside and show you these in real life. All right, so this is my special effects layout for this demo. As you can see, I have the models kind of broken apart as I explained. So we have this Amazon fog machine. It's 1 through 9 channels, but it's three separate models. This lights option can get added to your all group, your all yard, all house, all that type of stuff. And then what you're going to do is to make the names, you would come over to strand name and then click edit. Oops, it'd help if I clicked on the right one. So strand name, and then you can see smoke is channel 1, fan 2, wand 3, dimmer 4. For the bracelets, I'll do that one first since that one's pretty quick. They want a value of 85 set on channel 1 and 0 on channel 2. And then from there, you can add like a bars effect. You can add quite a few different effects on here to get them to start lighting up different colors. One second, we got zoom in the way for turn on output to lights. So as I have this bars effect right here, the bracelet is lighting up the colors of the bar. So if I take out green, take out white, take out yellow, now it's going back and forth between red and blue. If you increase the cycles, it'll flash a little bit faster. So what you could do with this is you could have it in an all group. You could have it, pulse to the beat, something like that. So it feels more inviting to your guests and makes them feel like they're part of their show. The programming at BF Light Shows already includes this. So if you use these bracelets, then all you have to do is just import these 2 effects and they'll be in sync, matching all the colors of your show. One quick thing to be aware of with these bracelets is the way they transmit the wireless data. They interfere with car fobs. So you need to make sure you don't just drag this DMX effect across the whole sequence because it will impact people's car fobs. So it's recommended to use like short bursts of this. So what I like to do is do like a few second bursts or, about a quarter second to maybe 5 seconds or so. So you could do something kind of like this. So as long as there's some gaps in here, then you're not creating all that interference that's going to interfere with the car fobs. And you want the DMX effect to be slightly longer than the color effect, because if the color effect is longer, you'll see the bracelets lighting up. The DMX effect, oops. So the DMX effect is going, DMX effect stops, and the bracelet gets stuck on its last command. If you make the DMX effect longer than the color effect, then it will know to turn the bracelet off. So that's how the bracelets work. It's not a whole lot to them, but those give a fun little element to your show. For the fog machines, we'll go to the Fobble F3 first, because that's probably the most affordable one on the list. So you could have certain parts of your song. I like to try to accentuate the highlights of the song or make it fit the song. If there's like a real dark, creepy point of a Halloween song or something, you know, I'll add some fog. If there's a dancing portion, we'll add the fobbles. Kids go absolutely nuts for bubbles and fobbles. So if you want them dancing and running around and being all giddy, pick up a fobble machine and turn that thing on and they will go nuts. It's quite an entertaining sight to see. So to do this, what you can do is come into fog volume and you can set this between 10 to 255, as we saw in the machine manual. And then bubble wand speed, that controls how fast the bubble wand is going. The faster you go, the more bubbles it'll produce. And then machine function, for this one, you just want that basically all the way up, and that will put it in the fobble mode. So now this machine would run for about 5 seconds or so. And while it's, so right here, you can see there's no effect. The machine needs about a second and a half, maybe 2 seconds of command before it will actually start turning on. So you need to make sure that you account for that if you're trying to program these. In our programming that we released today, I've tested every one of these machines personally. I set every one of them up to make sure they go off at the right times and all of that. There is kind of a learning curve on how long it takes to actually start and go off, things like that. The machines, they can use quite a bit of fluid. So you want to try to use like short bursts, maybe like 10 seconds or so. If you want it to just run for 30, 40 seconds, you're going to go through hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of fluid. I did that my first year. I thought it'd be cool to have a fog machine going most of the time, and quickly realized I needed to adjust all the effects and shorten them up because I was just going through too much fog. Since this particular machine doesn't have any lights, these are basically the functions for that one. The Fobble F4, you get a few more options here. I typically don't put anything on 1 through 4. 1 through 4 allow you to set the specific machine to do something, but I find it easier to go down to channels 8 through 15. And you can come over to this fog control. And in this fog control, it will set everything with one value. So you do have to reference the manual to figure out what is what. But over here, this channel 15 operating macro, you can see a value of 10 to 19 is 25% fog. 30 to 39 is 100% fog. You could come down in here and get into the fobbles. So 149 through 255 are variations of different fobbles. So you have different amounts of fog, different amounts of bubbles, big bubbles, small bubbles, more fog, less fog, all that type of stuff. And you can play around with that and figure out what you like and think looks good. The more you use it and the more output you use, obviously the more fluid you're going to go through. And then let's see. The upshot fog, that one works really well in short bursts. So this basically just has a smoke channel, and then it also has the light channel. But it also has a master switch that has to be on. So for channel 1 to work, channel 8 also has to be set. Most of the machines that use lights also have to have a dimmer set. So let's go up to the Froggy's Fog real quick. So the Froggy's Fog we have up here, if we wanted to do this same bars effect, so we can see it's going red, white, and blue. It wouldn't actually light up unless we turned on this dimmer. And the Froggy's Fog machine also needs some type of smoke value in order to turn on the lights. So the lowest amount you could set is 10. That'll kick on the machine and get the lights to work. The fog output would be next to nothing though. A good amount of fog, if you do 39 will be a pretty good output of fog and the lights will be on. So what I can do now, we're about 20 minutes in. I'll go run outside real quick. I'll turn off the camera. I'll set up the Cold Spark and all of those machines real quick, and we'll start doing some demos and you can actually see what this will do in real time. So give me just a second to go run outside and get that set up. In the meantime, we'll see if I can answer some questions while we do this. I see there's 21 messages in chat. So give me just a second to run outside and we'll start answering some questions.
I was going to say this would be a good time to start talking about Kyle behind his back.
That's the perfect time. All right. So from left to right, I have the fire machine, Cold Spark, Upshot Fog, Fobble F4, Fobble F3, and then the Amazon smoke machine. And it's obviously daylight out, so the lights might not show up so well. Might be kind of hard to see the fire, but we'll try it anyways. So right here is about a 5-second burst. By the time the machine actually kicks on, fires it up, and does, all of its gearing up to start outputting, your effect's basically over. So you're not going to get a whole lot out of a short effect around 5 seconds with a fog machine. That would work really well for that upshot and be way too long for Cold Spark or the fire machine, but the Fobble machine or smoke machine needs a little bit more than that. All right, so now we got some lights going. We'll turn on output to lights. And then as we start this effect, can you see that? Kind of. Shane, can you see that or no?
Yeah, I can barely see it. I'm trying to figure out how to change the view here. Oh yeah, you go to the speaker view, you can see it a little better.
See if I stop sharing. If I stop sharing, is that
There we go.
bring me up front?
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So first one up is the Amazon fire machine, or I'm sorry, Amazon smoke machine on the other side over there. My X window's open. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. So now that I have it turned on, the smoke machine is kicking off. If I want the bubbles to go as well, we can turn on the bubble wand, and then you'll see the motor start to spin on the bubble wand as well. So I know it's daylight and kind of hard to see, but hopefully you can see the bubbles coming out. To do some of the other machines, let's see here. So I know people often ask about the cold spark machines and fire machines, so I'll do that next. So the fire machines, I will just warn you ahead of time, they are extremely dangerous. I do not recommend buying them. I don't recommend using them, but I've got a ton of questions asking how they work, and I see a ton of people trying to use them. So I'd like to share what I've learned along the way. They use a starting fluid. Shane, I know you use the fire machines, but you have propane ones, right?
That is correct.
Yeah. Propane's definitely a safer option. The spray the fire machines that are kind of popular they leak, they have a bad O-ring and things, so they're not safe. But to do them, you want really short bursts. Short bursts work really well with that. There's a warning on the machine itself that says, don't exceed 3 seconds. So you want to make sure no matter when you do this, they're never exceeding 3 seconds. I try to stay under a second. Most of the time I'm doing about a half a second or so. On the spray the fire machines, I found that setting channel 1 and 2 to 255 seems to give pretty good results. So we'll give a few little bursts here, and hopefully this shows up even though it's daytime. I don't know if you can hear or see that, but it's firing and going off. And let me see if I can get a slightly better view of that.
Yeah, I can't really see. Have to take your word for it. Yes.
Well, you'll definitely hear it from here.
Oh, there you go.
So they do work. They are not super reliable. They are real dangerous. So that's how you would control them. You want to do short bursts, highlight extenuating parts of a song. If you did, some type of song that has a really good bass beat, pulsing to the beat, as long as the beat isn't too fast, that works pretty well. Let's see if I can do cold spark. That should show up at least a little bit better. So this cold spark machine we got from Global Special Effects. We bought it when we went to Transworld this past February. Works pretty well. It goes through quite a bit of powder really fast. The powder that Global Special Effects sells is $45 a bag, and you can go through that bag in about 10 minutes or so. So that can get extremely expensive very, very quickly. I found that doing it for our 4th of July show, I did it in short bursts of maybe a second, maybe 2 seconds. It absolutely did not last the 10 minutes that they said a bag would last. I went through probably almost 10 bags for the 4th of July show running it. I ran it on Saturday, the Saturday before the 4th of July, Saturday after the 4th of July, and on the 4th of July. So it gives some good effects, but it's pretty expensive to run these. They're about 1,500 watts, so they also use quite a bit of electricity. But they do give a really good effect. They give you a wow factor for sure. So let's see how these look. So this one shoots probably 25 feet or so in the air. So you get quite a good height out of it. You're supposed to be able to control the height with DMX. I found that it didn't really matter what I set the DMX value to. It was always pretty much the same height though. So these work really well if you want to have a safer alternative than the spray the fire machines. What you can do is do these in short bursts too. We used them for the 4th of July show. I had them set up on opposite ends of the USA sign that we had. And, basically highlight points of the song, we would just shoot off fireworks. So there was a song 4th of July by Fall Out Boy, and it said, we are fireworks. It shot those off like they're fireworks. Or We're an American Band by Girl Funk Railroad. And that was kind of it's the chorus of the song, We're an American Band. So, it shot off at that point as well. So people, they have a good reaction when they see stuff like that. They're just like, wow, can't believe it's doing that, or can't believe those are there. So if you want to take your show to new heights or compete on Great Christmas Light Fight or the Halloween Fright Fight when they start accepting light show houses, then these are definitely a great way to do it. Next up, we'll do the upshot fog. These also work really well in short bursts. So this one's about a second. I'd say probably like a 1.5 seconds or so is pretty good for these. If you want them to be a little bit longer, if you try to do something like 10 seconds with these, they really don't look very good. So I would try to keep the bursts with these guys. They have a strobe on them. They have color options, so you can set them to, match colors. You can get some really good effects that look like fire with these. So you can have them pulse orange and red. So I could add like a bars effect right here. And instead of white, we can make that orange. If you wanted, you could even add some white in there just for real bright flashes. And when this starts going off, I don't think you'll be able to see it during the day, but I'll do another quick little demo video at night and see if I can throw this in the PowerPoint. But all right, so now when I do this, the lights will be going off and then the smoke will go off. So you can see that one, it shoots out quite a bit of fog quickly. Those machines, they want to have a different type of fog. They want to have quick dissipating fog. So if you use the Fobble machines, those want a Fobble fog or high density, low lying type fog, where these want quick dissipating. So they look kind of like a CO2 cannon. But you could do, multiple bursts. Again, you could do something to the beat here. So drum beat. You'd obviously have to play with the timing and whatnot to get it correct. But as you do that, the rest of these going off. There it goes. So there's a lot of different options to kind of create a more engaging show. Like I said, if you have these set as orange and red, it will allow you to simulate the look of fire without having any dangers. And it's a much cheaper alternative than the cold spark. And that's extremely safe way. You're not going to have a city come shut you down or anything for using a fog machine. And then last one, we'll do a quick demo of the Froggy's fog machine. So this thing is great. It will absolutely lay down a ton of fog, and kids go absolutely nuts over this machine. So we'll turn this thing on, and these bubbles they're called fobbles. They are smoke-filled bubbles, and you can see they will land on the grass. If I can get close enough, you can pop them, and they're filled with smoke. So as you pop them, they have little poofs of smoke. Like I said, kids go absolutely nuts for that. They will chase them all over the yard and have an absolute blast with them. So there's a caveat with that. If you have a fobble machine, you should probably expect kids to start trying to run through your display to chase the bubbles. They'll run into the street and things like that. So make sure you have safety precautions in place. See if you can set up, a cemetery fence or something like that to keep people out of your displays. Make sure your wires are, one stapled down. If you're real close to a street, try to do what you can to control traffic and make sure that they are not going to run into the street. We had an incident last year where we had some idiot driving down the street at like 50 miles an hour, and a kid went running into the street chasing bubbles. And thankfully he was okay. The car was able to stop, but slammed on his brakes. He was obviously driving way too fast on a residential street. Luckily, we don't have that very often, but that could have been very, very bad. So after that, we shut the fobbles down for the night. I haven't quite figured out a better way to do it for this year. We're still looking at different ways. I'll probably move the machine closer into the yard so it's not as close to the street, just to make sure kids are running towards our display instead of away from it. And just make sure that all of our stuff is kind of buttoned down that way. And then one other thing I wanted to show is just an example of our new SFX packs that are coming out or are out. So you can see exactly what they look like and how you would use them. So here is one of the SFX packs that we have available. This is for Black Magic, but you can see we have all of the colors set to red. These go off basically at the fire portions of this sequence. And you can see if I zoom in here a little bit in Xlights that some of the machines, they start before the color or they have different timings on them. And that is because the machine takes a little bit longer to actually turn on or start outputting fog and that type of thing. So we went through and adjusted each of these to make sure that they match. I'm going to turn the audio off for this because I don't want it to get banned on YouTube when this gets posted, but we'll go ahead and play this and you guys can see how this looks. So as the machine is going off, you can see the upshot is super fast to respond. The other ones, they respond. All of the machines are going off. You typically want to make sure that you have short bursts if you're trying to follow a beat. If you're trying to do a kind of a fill your graveyard or fill your display with smoke, then you would want to do a long extended effect. So I have some of those as well. So let me come over here. So the TikTok dance, from Wednesday or Bloody Mary, we have set up obviously differently. In here, you can see the effects are different for the upshot fog than they are the smoke machines or fobble machines. The upshot fogs are short bursts. They typically go to the beat at the highlight points. And then the dancing chorus portion, we have fog or fobbles and bubbles and things to get kids to dance and kind of be more interactive. So we have a quick demo on this one. So the machine starts firing up. and then you can see the upshot shoots off in a quick burst. It'll get your attention while the other machines are just kind of filling up the yard with smoke. You know, I know it's kind of hard to see during the day, but the upshot one, you can see, looks like you can see now they're going off. So these machines, like I said, we carry the Fable machines now, but the other ones are available. There's this TC one on Amazon, which is also a pretty good one. Let's see, I'm supposed to add a picture to the PowerPoint, but ran out of time, so I didn't get that one. So here is the one from Amazon. Looks like it's 225 bucks. It says it's 8-channel. Like I said, it is 9 channels, and our models are included in the layout. So that's a good alternative if you don't want to get the Froggy's F4. The F3 is a even cheaper option at $200, but it doesn't have any lights. So there's a kind of a fog machine on each level, and up to you how much you want to spend on them and things like that. But we've been using them for 4 years or so now. They have dramatically increased the interactivity of our show. When I started, I just had the one machine. Now, obviously, we have quite a few, and the more that we've added, the more people come to our show. There's lines of cars to see our show every day, and you can disguise the machine. So if you have multiple machines but you want to leave them out, you could throw a bubble machine in like a cauldron. We did that last year. So we had a Hocus Pocus stand set up where people could take pictures, and basically they acted as the Sanderson sisters because Hocus Pocus 2 came out. So they got to take their picture. We had the peace buttons so they could hit the different props and light them up. And then we had the bubble machine go in, fill in this cauldron with bubbles. So it looked like they were standing in front of a cauldron with bubbles coming out. So you can create some cool effects using these types of things. Just adds another element to make your show a little bit more interactive. So that was about it for this presentation. So does anybody have any questions about the special effects?
Hey, it's Pat. I do have a question about the bracelets, right? We've seen people
Sure.
with bracelets, but obviously there's a cost to that. And then do you just hand them out and then let people wear them and run around with them and then collect them back? Or do they take them home? Like what's the process there?
It is really up to you. I personally, I sell them for $5 a piece. We ordered them through the group buy. They were like $3 and change. And then we had our sticker or our logo for our show printed on them. So it says like Bostick Family Light Show. That was another like $1 something and change. So I'm not making any money on them, but I'm not losing money handing them out. Other people ask for a donation, and people make a donation and then they give them a bracelet and then they donate it all to charity. It's really, it's your show. It's up to you on how you do it. We sell them for $5, or I think it's 2 for $7.50 or something. So I lose a little bit of money on that, but I don't want to pay hundreds of dollars to give them all out.
Right. Okay, cool. And then the other question was, any recommendations on CO2 cannons?
I haven't used a CO2 cannon, so I don't have a recommendation. I would like to check them out. They are more responsive than the upshot fog machines, but I don't have any experience with them to say which ones are good or bad or any of that.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, Kyle, it's Vito.
Hey.
The difference between that Amazon Fable machine and the F4, is it like wattage or what's the difference?
It's wattage, and there's a night and day difference. The F4 is 100 times better. The Amazon one, it works. I would say it works a little bit better than the F3. Not much, but maybe just a little bit better than the F3. but the F4 is definitely the best one. It will flood your yard with bubbles and smoke, but the Amazon one, it's probably about half the output of the F4. And it's
Okay.
about half the price, but it's, you know,
Yeah.
half the output. You would really need two of them to match the F4.
And if
It's not
you,
half
if you
the
were,
power though.
yeah, if you were to compare the F3 or the Amazon, which one would you go for?
The Amazon gives you a little bit more power. So it has a little bit better output and it has the lights in it, but it's a little bit more expensive. So, you know, it's kind of a budget thing. Do you want to get a machine and get in the game, or do you want something really good? The F3, it doesn't do lights, but if you put it in a cauldron or something, you don't really need lights anyways. If you're doing it somewhere in the middle of your yard that's going to be seen, maybe you want to add the lights. I don't think the lights add that much to it, to be honest. We do have them programmed, but I really don't see that being like a deal breaker. If they didn't have lights, like don't bother type of thing.
Got it. Can you put the link back? I'm just want to just compare it, the Amazon one that you posted earlier.
Sure.
Oh, sorry, I missed it.
I posted it in chat, so now you have the
Oh, in
direct link.
chat. Awesome. Thank you.
How do you keep bubbles from foaming up around the wands over time? It will get a little foamy. I don't know if it is right now or not. Right now it's not. Everything is just pretty calm. I do clean these machines after each season, so they will, you know, get put back in the box and stored at the end of the season. But I don't have a way where they do get a little foamy, especially if you're using the machine a lot, if you're running it at like 30-second bursts and things like that. As soon as it stops, it does get a little foamy and bubbly, but that's just kind of part of it. I have not played with the ground foggers for a chiller or anything like that. I have been to Transworld and some of the other trade shows where they have them, and I've talked to the people about how they work and things.
Now, audio.
What was that? Okay. So James asked, have I worked with ground foggers for like spooky graveyard effects? I haven't used a ground chiller, but there's a lot of videos on YouTube on how to make them. You can put them in, make a cooler, store them with dry ice and things like that. I have used the like cheap Home Depot or Spirit Halloween foggers through one of those like PVC tubes and just kind of spread it out through a graveyard. That worked okay, not super great. Typically I would, if I wanted to do that effect, I would recommend looking at one of the chillers or buying a machine that's dedicated for that. They do make a special fluid for low-lying fog. I would definitely recommend checking that out as well, because the fog I'm using, it doesn't last as long as the ground fog does. So, thanks, James.
Yeah, I built I made a video on a low-lying chiller where I use a pond mister and ice, and I add lasers to it. It makes this really creepy swamp effect. And I also make my own fog juice too. That's really thick and low-lying. If anyone's interested.
I did see your video on the laser fog swamp you had, and it looked awesome. So if anyone's interested in doing that, definitely check out Vito's videos, because his laser swamp was pretty awesome.
Vito, put the link in chat, please.
You sure will.
Thank you.
And then Just said he had to keep rinsing out the bubble compartment last year with water. Yeah, I used the Froggy's Fog bubble juice. I don't know if that plays a factor in it. I know you can use the cheaper bubbles, but it was an expensive machine. I didn't want to blow it up. So when I started, I just made sure to buy Froggy's juice, because they said if you use cheaper fluid or make your own or something, if it burns up, you know, there's no warranty. So that kind of scared me. after doing this for a little while, everyone I've talked to that makes their own, it's like, it's fine. You don't need to buy theirs. So, you know, I haven't tried it. I still buy theirs, but like Vito just mentioned, he makes his own and came up with a better low ion concoction than what's available. And I'm sure it's way cheaper. So, you know,
Yeah,
to
it's
each
about a
their own.
tenth of the price. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, about a quarter of the price.
Yeah, it's definitely expensive and their prices went up. When I started this, it was like $20 a gallon. Now it's like 35. So, you know, the fog.
Yeah, my formula
juice
costs
is just
about
going up.
$10 a gallon.
Yeah.
About $10 a gallon to make.
Yeah, what's the recipe, Vito?
It's 25% vegetable glycerin to 75% distilled water. Must use distilled water. Don't use any other type of water. You can buy a gallon of vegetable glycerin on Amazon for around, I think last I checked was about $30 or less, but you can make 4 gallons out of that.
You said distilled, correct?
Has to be distilled. If you any kind of water, it will clog up your fog machine. You got to use distilled water.